Good afternoon!
Ciao, Belly!
Hey, welcome in, Danny and Dusty with you on this beautiful Monday in the Rose City. Thank you for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. Look, let's get the elephant in the room out. Danny did not get injured summiting the hoops of the Nike Hoop Summit. That
Correct.
did not happen.
Right.
He currently is sitting through what is usually one of the more arduous days when you cover a team. He is at exit interviews for the Portland Trailblazers today.
That's got to be a fun one today, huh?
I bet you're hearing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah. Right?
You're hearing a lot of the same, but saw a lot of growth. Saw a lot of development. Looking forward to what's on tap for next year. You know, how do we move forward, onward and upward? We saw a lot of really good things. And look, next year, I'm going to come in the best shape of my life. And, we're going to go out. We're going to be aggressive on the trade market. We're going to be aggressive in evaluating draft talent.
Can be aggressive in free agency? No.
There's going to be a lot of aggression. All right?
Just like Danny's driving.
Yes. It's aggressive. All right?
Yes.
We're going to make 16-year-old girls cry on their first time driving their car. You know? Because it made me slam on the brakes. That's what we're going to do this off season. That's what you're going to hear. We hear it every year. And this is, look, I don't want to get too sportsy here. What are we doing?
Right?
We'll get into this
get
today. We'll get into, and Danny will join us. Danny may join us eventually, depending on how long this takes. At the Trailblazers Clean Out Your Locker Day. But if anything earth-shattering comes out, we'll keep you posted. We'll let you know. But as it stands, the Blazers' worst record in the Western Conference. Worst record in the Western Conference.
Tied for third worst in the league.
Yeah, hey, and that was the assignment.
Yes, and I didn't think that there was a chance in hell of that happening.
Especially after the win in Charlotte. You kidding me?
Yeah, because they needed a bunch of help this weekend to get there, and they got it.
Thank you, Charlotte Hornets.
Finally, a good thing happening for the Trailblazers.
Not knowing the assignment. And there were, look, it's as downtrodden as we get sometimes with this team, isn't this what we knew heading into game one? That this is what it was going to be like? I mean, this is what we expected this season to be.
Well, and for most of the season, they were right about fifth worst.
There you go.
Yeah. And it didn't look like there was going to be any sort of movement either way or the other. And then all of a sudden, if we get those last 3 days and boom. Yeah. Somebody rubbing that rabbit's foot.
That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you to the Spurs for picking up a big dub.
Absolutely.
Thank you to the Hornets for picking up 2. What?
Right?
Look at this.
Fantastic.
All things coming up, Blazers. All things coming up, Blazers.
They'll still find a way to screw it up.
Oh, wait. I think I got that backwards. 2 wins for the Spurs.
2 wins for the Spurs.
1 win for the Hornets.
Yeah.
Whatever it was a gift from the basketball gods. And now, a coin toss? Is that what we're on next? A coin toss to see who gets the third best lottery odds?
I think I saw something. It used to be a coin toss.
Oh, I thought I saw Tom Habistro said it'll be a coin flip.
Well, and it came because I went and saw something. I think it was on Blazers Edge.
Okay.
But that it used to be a coin toss, but now it comes down to a ping pong ball again somehow.
Hey,
I don't know quite how that works, but there is some sort of a draw later this week that will determine the tiebreaker.
For one, I'm pro more ping pong balls in our world.
Yeah.
You know, the ping pong ball industry is it took a hit, you know?
Right?
You know, look, think about this. During COVID, right? We weren't playing ping pong
or beer pong.
Yeah,
see, that's where that's where they had their heyday was the ascent of beer pong.
Beer pong was, I mean, that game, I had a buddy who he made custom beer pong tables. There's not a whole lot he did at an elite level.
Okay.
He was the same guy who struck out multiple times in slow pitch softball, intramural slow pitch softball.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Benched himself during intramural basketball. Okay,
This guy sounds like a
because
rust.
he wanted the championship, and so he benched himself. And we're almost 20 years later. He still will bring up me dislocating my shoulder as a reason why we didn't get a championship in intramural basketball.
It's all on you, Dusty. It's all your fault.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Um,
Coach would have just put me back in.
yeah, yeah. And then, but you know what he did at an elite level? Well, he did two things at elite level.
Mm-hmm.
He partied at an elite level, and he made beer pong tables that were immaculate.
Hey.
Like, I mean, he would do custom paint jobs. He would paint, he would gloss them and seal them, because you don't just, amateur hour? You
No.
can't just have, your paint job get wrecked at the first time somebody spills their cups.
No, yeah.
No.
Yeah, you got to Thompson's water seal that son of a gun.
He had lights that were just
Ooh.
illuminated
Wow.
on the table. Like, it was amazing.
That's fancy.
It was. And, he did what he should have done. He followed his path. He opened up a bar.
Hey, boom. Yeah.
He did those at elite levels.
That's the next logical step.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? Like, those days in that, he had a 2-bedroom apartment that he lived in by himself. And one of them was a beer pong room. I cringed to think at what the apartment company, when they walked into that room,
Right.
they said, what happened in here? The carpet crunched.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was
They walk in and it's like a bar. It smells like stale beer and regret.
absolutely. It was way too much regret in that room. And victories.
Yeah.
But beer pong was that game is life to college kids. And I wonder if it is still. Do the college kids still play the amount of beer pong that they did, 20, 30 years ago?
I would bet that maybe one of the few things that might put a little bit of a hole in that proliferation
Ooh.
would be the rise of cornhole.
Yeah, cornhole is a big one.
Yeah.
Cornhole.
That probably took a chunk out of the audience there.
But still, I think my buddy, who he will remain nameless,
Mhm.
because I just told you all the horrible things that he was. He was like, nobody should know your name if you strike out multiple times in slow pitch softball.
No.
I mean,
No.
and I'm not going to do that to him, Ozzy. But I'm not going to do that to him. I wouldn't do that to him. But at the same time, like, I think cornhole, he could still make the boards.
Yeah.
He would have been elite at that.
Yeah.
All
absolutely.
that doesn't change his path.
You can't just pigeonhole yourself to
No.
beer pong tables. You got to expand into the cornhole.
No, if you can create masterpieces of beer pong tables, you could create cornhole boards too.
Right? Why not some depending on, I don't know, it's got so many names, ladder golf, Montana golf, that type of thing.
That game is there's 2-yard games that are wildly underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Ladder golf is one where you got the 2 golf balls on a string, and
Yep.
then you got the 3
Three
bars
tiered,
here's the thing about that game. Scoring is different in what do you go? Do you go 1 point for high and 3 points for low, or do you go vice versa?
See, I've not played enough to make
Because
an adamant stance on
You'll
that.
you'll get to some places they're adamant. No,
Yeah.
like
I guess
to me-
at that point, is it house rules?
yeah, but to me 3 is your lower.
Okay.
Go high, that's easier.
That makes sense.
1, 2, 3
Okay.
down.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fair enough.
but you'll get to some people that it's no. They'll call shenanigans on that, and I say whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm just here to drink in your backyard, sir. I will throw these balls on a string wherever you want me to. Uh-oh. Walked right into that one.
I'm gonna put these balls wherever I want.
The other one is washers, is the other yard game, where you have a board
Mm-hmm.
and it has 3 holes, like golf cup size
'Kay.
holes drilled in it,
Uh-huh.
and they're usually carpeted. Okay, if you want to go flat board, but other ones are like PVC pipes, and you got 3 of them in there.
Okay.
We did the carpeted board, so you could slide in a little bit. You get a little slide. Some people just go with you're only draining them, right? You only get the PVC pipe, and you have like quite literally a washer that you throw, and you got to get it into the holes.
Okay.
Those 2-yard games are wildly underrated. Everybody wants to go to cornhole. Everybody wants Can Jam, also a great yard game.
Boy, you're blowing.
You've never heard of Can Jam?
Can Jam or the washers.
Okay.
These are new to me.
Yeah. Can Jam is you got a Frisbee.
Okay.
And then there's is just not a cute name. There's a can. Okay, on the other side, and it's got a slit cut into it, or it's got the open top. If you throw it into the slit, that's your game over. But you have a partner on the other side, and he tries to hit that bad boy into the can.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So you can hit the Frisbee into this like garbage can, and that's 3 points. I'm rusty on my points.
Gotcha.
But if you hit it and it deflects off, you get 1 point.
Okay.
Huh?
Fair enough.
Yeah. That's a fun game.
Absolutely.
But cornhole, and rightfully so, it steals all of the headlines.
Yeah. Well, cornhole's great. It's a good time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's just fun for everybody out there. How about Vancouver Ford text line is off and roaring right now. 503-864-6326. How about Hillbilly Horseshoes? Never heard of it.
Yep.
Never heard of it.
Nope.
I don't know Hillbilly Horseshoes. Horseshoes, I love me some Horseshoes. Horseshoes is a fun game. It's one of those games that it stands the test of time. It takes a little bit of effort, and you got to have like that. That's a permanent fixture in your backyard if you have the pits. I remember when my dad built the horseshoe pits at our house. It was a fine moment in the Hara household.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the
Hillbilly Horseshoes. Is that with a? Are you playing horseshoes with a toilet seat?
No. What this looks like here. And this is at redneckhorseshoes.com.
All right.
Because that's a thing.
Okay.
You got a couple of buckets, it looks like, and some sand.
Yeah.
And it looks like you're trying to toss, like, beer bottles into said bucket.
Oh. Yeah, no. It seems like, you're going to break some beer bottles, and that's not...
Well, because, like I said, beer bottles of some fashion, because there's another picture here where they are clearly on concrete.
Wait, can I just say, isn't Hillbilly Horseshoes a bit redundant? I mean, aren't we? I mean, like I love me some horseshoes, but I'm not gonna lie, like you don't see horseshoes in suburban settings or urban settings.
And it looks like these buckets also, they're not your typical, I mean, if you're in the sand, you can bury it how you want, but they got it on kind of an angle. But if you're on a hard surface, it looks like that bucket is not a level bucket. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
Like they cut the bottom at an angle.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever.
Anyway.
All right. This text says roof ball, invented by the great Adam Willis.
Yes.
Former producer at NBC Sports Northwest.
And the first play-by-play voice, of course, a very famous Travis Demers.
Travis Demers. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Roof ball is a great game that it was invented here in our own backyard. Willis, I believe, lived in Beaverton.
Yes.
When he invented roof ball.
He was a year ahead of me in school.
Oh, another great Beaverton High alum.
School. Yes. He was a Highland kid, though. I was a Whitford kid.
Oh, yeah. Screw Highland.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was the other junior high that went to
Beaverton.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Screw those guys.
Yeah. But you throw a football at like a ventilation pipe on your roof.
Yeah.
And then it rolls down. You got to catch it.
Yes.
Also, fun game.
Right.
But
I think most of the points involved come if you hit like said, ventilation pipe.
Now, I want to say that the first time that I heard of roof ball and they started like filming it, they put those things on YouTube like in 2011.
It's been
like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And during COVID, when everybody just like found all of the internet,
yes,
somebody found roof ball and it got wildly popular across the country.
Big.
Like it got really big across the country.
It did.
And he became like a sensation. Barstool like flew out and they flew him out to do a roof ball tournament.
Yep.
It became a very big deal.
It did. It was a thing.
It was the great Adam Willis.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Way to go, Adam Willis.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's talking yard games. See, I told you we got too sportsy at the beginning. We were talking about Blazers exit interviews, and all of a sudden we're talking roof ball and all these other games. We got to make sure we get... I don't want to do a disservice because this weekend was actually that awakening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of, hey, maybe spring 3.0 is going to stick. It's not.
Yeah.
But we need to start wiring ourselves that when spring 4.0 comes and then like a week later summer and the furnace kicks on here in the state of Oregon, we got to be ready for our yard games and maybe throw something new.
It's funny too, the whole fake spring thing, it has now proliferated down to the children, because every day my 7-year-old, she asks me if it's sunny outside in the morning, she goes, Dad, is today another fake spring?
Yeah. You know what?
She's catching on.
You're raising yourself some Oregonians there.
Right?
You're raising yourself some Oregonians, and good on you for doing that.
Right.
Which brings us to, on Friday, we had a great poll question up. At Danny and Dusty on Twitter, better fast food burger joint, Burgerville or In-N-Out. And this was inspired by the great Damon Stoudemire, head basketball coach at Georgia Tech, who apparently spends late night hours defending the honor of Burgerville over In-N-Out on the internet.
As a true Oregonian should.
As he should. 60.4% of the vote going towards Burgerville, 39.6% are wrong.
Yeah.
No, go to In-N-Out.
You are right.
No, I like it. I like me some In-N-Out.
It's all right.
I like me some In-N-Out.
It's fine.
All right, you ready to sports? We had a great sports weekend.
Yeah, let's sports the hell out of this.
Yeah, man. I felt old over the weekend. Like coming to grips with your aging is a very real thing. And I had to take a step back and go, whoa, bud.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I pulled my back bending over and picking something up off the coffee table yesterday.
Look, I'm not kidding. My next step is yelling at kids to get off. Actually, I did yell at 2 kids to get off my lawn because I planted some new grass in there. They can't be walking on.
No, well, see, listen, and that there, if you're planting new seed, you got to get like the sticks and the twine out and rope that son of a gun off.
Yeah,
that's on you, dude.
Man,
you can't expect the kids to know that.
This is no. You get off my lawn. All right, get off my lawn. All right, so I got a lot that we need to get to today. It's going to be a fun show. We got a lot of fun with audio from the Masters, from the weekend of the NBA. We will get to some Portland Trailblazers stuff because I want to get fans. I want to hear from you, and I think this will be a good exercise. When Danny shows up, we can get to how Blazer fans are feeling about the state of the organization. 82 forgettable games for the hometown team this year. I mean, we can call it what it is. We knew what this season was when we were getting into it. It was not going to be a season where they were primed for winning, and they did not. They knew the assignment, and I think we can look at 20-62, and we can say,
call that a win.
That was the expectation for this team, okay? But what did you see that was positive? What are you concerned about moving forward? All of these things are open for all of us today. And I think we'll let it all out. We'll get it all out. We'll have some football mixed in there. We got the NFL draft coming up. Hey, we're less than 2 weeks away. We're less than 2 weeks away. We're like
a week and a half. 10 days?
10 days.
10 days?
Thursday, we get the NFL draft. Man. All right? Where people then can get wildly over their skis about how good their team's going to be.
We're going to the Super Bowl!
Or how bad your team's going to be.
We're going to suck!
Yeah, that's right. We got all of it. And we got some chicken news. Yep.
Chicken news.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. But where we got to start this bad boy off, one of the teams not in the NBA playoffs is the Portland Trailblazers. Duh. But the field is set for the NBA playoffs. The play-in tournaments get underway tomorrow. Intriguing matchups and meltdowns down the stretch. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Hello, my love. I heard a kiss from you. This does not sound very metal-y to me, but we press on.
I figure if he's not here, he doesn't get Metal Monday. We're going to groove.
All right.
The Brothers Johnson.
All right. All right, NBA playoffs are set. I thought the weekend worked out pretty well for the NBA schedule. No games on Saturday. Everybody played on Friday. They had that off day on Saturday, and then boom, you have that furious finish where you had 2 staggered start times to the end of the regular season. Games out east started about 10 a.m. Out west, everybody jumped around noon 30. And you're not going to overtake Masters weekend, but I thought that there was a ton of buzz and intrigue based on how things were going to shake out, whether it was the Eastern Conference. We're only 2 games heading into Friday, right? You had 2 games separating 3 and 5, right? Yeah. And you come out of it, and the Milwaukee Bucks, which were sitting in the 2 seed in the East almost all season long, their struggles continued, man. And there are real questions, real concerns as it pertains to the validity of Milwaukee as a championship caliber team. Damian Lillard going 2 for 14 yesterday, struggling from the field. Giannis not playing due to that calf strain. Like, the questions are very real surrounding this Milwaukee team, and to see them drop from 2 to 3, and the New York Knicks, who've been battered and beleaguered with the injury bug, they end up going and snatching that 2 seed. And Jalen Brunson has been on a warpath since he went to New York. But this year, his stardom is taking off to another level. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to sit here for 3 hours and talk about how great Jalen Brunson is like Colin did, but acknowledging how good Jalen Brunson is and has been in the wake of all of these injuries and trying to adjust on the fly with who's in the lineup, who's out of the lineup. I really am very impressed with Jalen Brunson and that New York Knicks team. They've taken on the identity of Tibbs, Tom Thibodeau, their head coach. Because of the injuries, it's kind of a weird thing that they're not going to be totally run into the ground like all Tibbs teams do come postseason time. But it does makes it for some very interesting matchups that maybe the Milwaukee Bucks actually dodged a bullet by being the 3 seed. Now they do have to get Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers, who found their stride at the end of the season, playing a lot better basketball, but they are the 6 seed there, and they avoid either Miami or Philly in that first round. So you can get Giannis back, you can work through a few things, but there's some very real questions and concerns as it pertains to Damian Lillard, how much he's got, whether it's how much he's got in the tank, mm-hmm. or his overall just state of being in Milwaukee right now.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's taken less than a season. It's taken less than a full season to have questions raised about Lillard and his comfortability and his fit in Milwaukee.
Well, in First Take this morning, Stephen A. Smith, which we always take Stephen A. with a grain of salt, right? Mm-hmm. But he said something that you keep hearing again and again and again, and you take these little kernels, and there is something there.
Did you see what I said on NBA Countdown yesterday? I said that if Milwaukee loses, I said I think you need to consider moving Dame up out of there.
He just got there.
Let me explain. I'm not talking about his game. He's not happy there. Now, he's got a lot of distractions, which are his business, mm-hmm. and we wish him nothing but the best. Nothing but the best. Because a lot of us will not be able to handle it as well as he's handling it. But nevertheless, whatever support system that you're looking for, and I'm sure they got love for him and they try to support him or whatever, but it's one of those situations where if you are not happy in a situation, albeit because of outside reasons.
Right. He wanted to go to Miami.
And I know he wanted to go to Miami too. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. I mean, you got all of that going on. That's a lot to deal with. I'm not talking about his game because I believe in Dame.
Yeah,
I'm talking about what he has to go through and psychologically how that situation may not be ideal for him.
Like we heard this when he had his trip back here with Milwaukee for the first time, and Dame spoke to the assembled media, which was the most people that were at a Blazer game all season long, right? And he said, it's been hard for him. And one thing that you can never take for granted from Damian Lillard is he's going to be honest with you. And he has been honest with the fact that, his family, his kids, all still over here. he's kind of in Milwaukee, kind of on his own. And that's what Stephen A. is like alluding to. It's all the things that we've heard.
Yeah.
And look, be quite honest, for anybody, whether you are a superstar in the NBA or you're a normal person, the person that you've been dating and married to and have children with, when that ends, that is something real, especially when you don't have anybody really around you like your family, right?
Right.
There's something going on in Milwaukee, and it's not right. And it goes far, far greater than just Damian Lillard in his performances.
Basically, he thought he was leaving to go hook up with Becky with the good hair, and then realized that it wasn't actually Becky's hair.
Well, yes. I mean, there is a little bit of that. The grass isn't always greener.
Yeah.
I think if Giannis is healthy, I think we look at this completely different as they gear up and get ready for the playoffs, because the playoffs are a different animal. They really are. Stars win in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And Dame may have his struggles. We know when the lights shine the brightest is where you get the best out of Damian Lillard. We know that. And him being away from his kids or his family, that won't matter when the lights are the brightest and everything is the focal point on basketball in the playoffs. Giannis's injury is a completely different animal. And that's why I say, like, they may have dodged a bullet by not getting Philly in that first round and dropping to 3 and playing Indiana. Is that going to be an easier matchup? I mean, you don't have to go against Joel Embiid, who is, he missed half the season almost.
Yeah.
And now he comes back. That team is playing lights out.
Yeah, they've won 8 straight.
8 straight, and right when he came back, boom, they flipped the switch, and they're rare and ready to go. Miami does not have the firepower or the danger that we expected them to have, this year or what they were last year. But nobody wants to play a team with that much playoff experience in the opening round of the playoffs. So you avoid both those teams. You get Indiana, and then waiting for you in that next round is either going to be New York or one of those teams. You can work through a little bit of that stuff and maybe blowing out some of the rust for Giannis. On the flip side of things, the Western Conference, and look, the play-in games, we get 2 tomorrow in the West, and the 2 tomorrow are the Pelicans and Lakers, and then you get on after that, the Kings and the Warriors will play.
Yes.
Wednesday, you get the 76ers in Miami, and Miami, not in Miami, in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And then the Bulls and the Hawks in Chicago. Again, the winner of the early game in that 7-8 matchup, boom, they're the 7 seed. They're playing the 2 seed. So winner of tomorrow's game between the Pelicans and the Lakers gets the Nuggets, while the loser will have to play the winner of the Kings and the Warriors. And the winner of that one gets the right to go and get your teeth kicked in by the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yes.
And the Bulls and Hawks will play the loser of Miami and Philly with the opportunity to go and get beat by Boston. Well, I don't want to say that because Miami went and beat Boston last year.
Yeah. What did the Bucks look like if Mike Budenholzer was still there?
A championship caliber team. I truly believe that the way that
are we talking like to a degree higher than they currently are?
Well, yeah, let's get into that. Let's get into that because if Budenholzer was still in Milwaukee, how much do we change our idea and our thoughts about the Milwaukee Bucks? Here's Russ to SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers season mercifully coming to an end after yesterday's blowout loss to the Kings. They managed to catch the Spurs for the worst record in the Western Conference. They're tied with the Hornets for the 3rd worst record in the league. There will be an untelevised drawing later this week to determine the tiebreaker for draft lottery odds. Western Conference play-in games, as Dusty mentioned, tomorrow night, the 8th place Lakers will play at the 7th place Pelicans. That winner gets the 7th seed and will face the Nuggets. The loser will face the winner of tomorrow's Kings-Warriors game. Those 2 teams will then play on Friday. Suns and guard Grayson Allen have agreed to a 4-year, $70 million extension that includes a player option. Over in the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Colts and defensive tackle DeForest Buckner have agreed to a 2-year, $46 million extension. The former Duck was entering the final year of a 4-year, $84 million deal after joining the Colts in a 2020 trade from the 49ers. And on the diamond, the Mariners dropped 2 of 3 to the Cubs over the weekend. The 9-6 Cincinnati Reds roll into T-Mobile Park for a 3-game set. Frankie Montas and George Kirby is your pitching matchup. 6:42 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Live, local, and free. No subscription required. Portland's sports leader is 1080 The Fan.
Russ, you asked the question there of right before the break. How would we feel if Mike Budenholzer was still the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks? And that's an interesting one. A guy who's won an NBA championship there, and they'd felt in Milwaukee that it's run its course with Budenholzer because it was a bit of a roller coaster. But I think
he was only 1 year removed from that championship when they let him go, right?
I think what we look at though is how how hard it is to have that stability. And like this text on the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online, vancouverford.com. Giannis has too much pull in Milwaukee. Shocking how he skates on this. Like, there was some butting of heads with Mike Budenholzer. They brought in Adrian Griffin as kind of the player's coach, if you will. And it was an absolute disaster. I mean, that from the jump, that was an absolute disaster. When he fires when Terry Stotts leaves on his own accord at the very beginning of the year before they've even played a game, that was kind of the sign of the times there.
Yeah, Terry Stotts.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
And he did. Now, there is an element of me that understands Adrian Griffin in the position that he was in, because it's not just like he hired Terry Stotts and there was like, dude, I got a veteran coach and he's an offensive mind. He's one of the brilliant offensive minds in the game of basketball. And Terry Stotts is. I mean, everything that people had a gripe with him in here in Portland was not on that end of the floor.
Right. Yeah. No.
But you look at it and you go, they acquired Damian Lillard after they acquire Terry Stotts to be an assistant.
Yep.
The guy who is Dame's head coach and the person he relied on and leaned on the most as a coach, as an advisor, and a confidant, grooming him as an NBA player to the person and player that he was. I understand how you want to kind of establish, I'm the head coach and all that stuff, but that was the first sign of, oh boy, this guy's not comfortable in his own skin as a head coach.
Yeah, and the thing is, if that's your whole point, you want to establish yourself as I'm the head coach, then look, most young head coaches and first-timers, they bring in veteran guys, but if you're going to be like, I'm the head coach, then don't bring them in.
And then when Milwaukee hired Doc Rivers, who was the advisor to Adrian Griffin, that was a move that you're like, oh boy,
yeah,
okay, what's going on in Milwaukee?
With even Doc saying, I don't know why you guys are hiring me.
If Budenholzer was the coach, I think there would be more of a feeling of cooler heads would prevail and calmer waters would be ahead in the playoffs. I 100% agree with that sentiment. But they also have got some issues where Chris Middleton has been a roller coaster. And I understand it. When you have Beasley and Lillard in your backcourt, they had to go and get Pat Beverly.
Yeah.
Because there was such a hole in their backcourt, and we've seen this play out here in Portland for a long time. And even with Giannis Antetokounmpo, even with Brook Lopez, even with Chris Middleton, they had such a fracture defensively that they needed a big Band-Aid for that. I still do think, though, you get Giannis and you're in a playoff situation, they have punches and counter punches to win in the playoffs. If the Milwaukee came out of the East, would you be surprised? Even with all the turmoil they've been in?
No, because it's still hard to trust the Celtics.
And it's hard to trust the Celtics, and Stars win in the playoffs.
Yeah, because to me still, Jason Tatum to me still doesn't feel like a 1. You know, he could be a 1A, he could be a co-Batman, but he's not. But he doesn't feel like Batman.
No. This is, and look, they actually fixed a lot of things in Boston, and Drew Holiday is the guy I think they needed, because they have a ball handler, they have a veteran leader in the backcourt, and a guy who can, be a steady hand in a playoff series. And he's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. Really good to have. And that's what they were missing. And look, how can we not acknowledge what Peyton Pritchard did this weekend? 31, then 38. Hey, not too bad,
right? When
nobody else is playing on your roster.
Yes,
but
somebody's got to score.
They've got depth, man. They've got depth. They're a really damn good team, and really, I'm excited to see them with Holiday in their backcourt, because I think they can be very dangerous. I mean, I think last year, well, not just last year, this iteration of the Boston Celtics with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, it has been the really good regular season team, playoff no-shows. And those two guys are really going to have to kind of elevate their game in the playoffs to win, but their surrounding cast it makes so much more sense as a playoff team than it did even a year ago. And I think that's because Marcus Smart was not a ball handler that you could rely on. He was a really good defender, but now you got a true point guard in Drew Holiday who can be your calming force.
Yeah. He just feels like one of those glue guys that helps keep everything together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's in a really tough spot though. And it's so weird. As you look at these potential first round playoff matchups, doesn't the East look way more attractive and more fun to watch than the West does? You could potentially have playoff matchups of Miami, Boston, New York, Philly, okay, Milwaukee, Indiana, and Milwaukee being, if Giannis plays, that'd be great. But Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers, Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, the Milwaukee Bucks, that seems like a fun matchup.
Yeah.
And then you have the two upstarts that have gone through the injury bug and kind of been a roller coaster, but are trying to figure it out with Cleveland and Orlando.
A couple of young teams. And that seems like a fun one.
And then in the West, you're sitting there going, all right, you're staring down the barrel of Oklahoma City Lakers, which that could be a fun matchup. But hey, Anthony Davis got hurt. Again.
Yeah.
And
this is my surprise face.
Did you hear he called it a dirty play that Larry Nance Jr. had? He said he went up for a dunk. And I watched the replay. He said that Larry Nance Jr. pushed him in the back when he went up and he was in the air. And I saw it, and it looked like it's no more contact than you normally see not called a foul in the NBA on a guy who's on a follow-up dunk. Like it was a putback dunk attempt. He jumped and Larry Nance, it's not like he shoved him. It was just like the smallest of nudges, and he called it like a dangerous play. And he's like, I know Larry Nance Jr. isn't a dirty player, but it's a dangerous play. It's like, I did not get that sense at all. Anthony Davis didn't even hit the ground on the play.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it here, and it looks like basketball.
Backs are fickle, though. And he's a lower back injury, so hopefully he is okay and ready to play in the playoffs. But then you could have New Orleans, Denver, which that doesn't do much for me personally. Minnesota, Phoenix, that has a potential to be a really fun matchup.
Yes.
Where you could have Nurk and KD, Gobert and Cat, and then you have Connolly and Booker and Beal and Ant. That could be a fun matchup, starting five-wise.
Yeah, and see what kind of a leap that the Timberwolves can take in the playoffs.
And then upset watch with the Mavericks and the Clippers in that 4-5 matchup where I don't think anybody is taking the Clippers in this one. Everybody's like, yeah, Dallas is a monster right now.
Well, yeah, and wake me up when the Clippers actually ever make any noise in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I'm more excited for the East.
Yeah.
I really am.
Which is a rarity.
I know.
Yeah.
What's going on here? What is going on here?
Our pets' heads are falling off.
All right, one thing that the final weekend of the NBA playoffs gave us, we cannot ignore this. We cannot overlook this. We have a new national hero. We'll get to that next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
It's the Van
All right, 503-864-6326 is the Vancouver Ford text line. That's how you can interact with the show. Also, youtube.com/1080am, The Fan. The comments section is up and running. You can be a part of the comments and a part of the madness on there. We have them up. We see them. I don't always get to reply to all of them. But we have a new man of the people, okay? And I think that something that needs to be discussed more is the celebrity of Boban Marjanovic.
Famous John Wick villain henchman.
Yeah, in the library.
Yeah.
Yeah, often a library by John Wick.
Right.
Got hit in the head with a book. 7'4", 290 pounds, and Tobias Harris's best friend. They're besties.
Really?
Yeah.
That seems like an unlikely pair.
They have that goldfish commercial.
That's right. Yes.
Bobby and Toby.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a man of the
Just get
people.
a handful.
Because Boban, he only averages, 5.1 minutes per game for the Houston Rockets, which are not good.
No.
And the 41-41 Rockets, which I think here in Portland, we'd take that. It's 21 game improvement over Portland. They beat the Los Angeles Clippers 116-105 to round out the regular season yesterday. And with an 8-point lead and 4:44 to go in the fourth quarter, Boban stepped to the free throw line, and there was a lot on the line. And it wasn't for him because he missed his first free throw. And at the Clippers Arena at Staples Center, for Clippers games, they have a giveaway. If a player misses 2 free throws in the fourth quarter of a game, Clippers fans get a Chick-fil-A chicken sandy. Boban missed the first free throw, and there was a buzz in the arena. 4:44 and an 8-point lead. This game is not in hand for Houston whatsoever. But when there is no playoff seeding on the line for them, and the Clippers, they had their spot locked in as the 4 seed, they knew that this was much more than just a free throw. And Boban did what any great celebrity would do. He was there for the people.
Fans are getting excited here. There might potentially be some free chicken on the board if he misses the second free throw.
Oh man, free chicken on the board.
Yeah, so that's why the fans are getting a little frothy.
Oh, they're pointing to you. Boban's playing with the crowd. Say, you want chicken?
Here's your job.
Oh, he gave him chicken. He's a man of the people. He's a man of the people.
He did that on purpose?
He did. He gave out free chicken.
Boban, and that's courtesy of Bally Sports. Boban hears the crowd. He knows the assignment.
Yeah.
He points to himself, and then all the fans like, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
The only thing missing was the Hulk Hogan, circle hand up to the ear thing with
right.
the crowd.
He clanks that free throw off to the left,
yes.
and he raises a hand and puts a finger in the air, signaling victory. Okay? And this guy was right.
Oh, he gave him chicken. He's a man of the people.
Oh, it's so good.
You want to talk about that? Sounds like was it Jim Ross on wrestling?
Baka, that's Stone Cold's music.
Oh, he gave him chicken. He's a man of the people.
I love it. And you know what the worst part of all of this is? Is that there were people at the end of that game who were like, the NBA needs to step in and do something about this.
Oh, stop it. See, I was wondering when the question...
8-point game, 4:44 to go. The Rockets had no playoff seeding to play for. He's not throwing the game. By the way, the Rockets still won the basketball game. Fan engagement is not what the NBA needs to step into. This isn't happening in a playoff game. Boban isn't missing that if the Rockets have anything to play for goodness sakes. He was trying to throw a bone to the fans that were in what we all know is a meaningless basketball game at the end of the year.
Now,
I'm for Boban. He is my new king.
This is an absolutely just, I don't want to say a feel-good story, but it's one of those, it makes you chuckle. But one of the other thoughts that popped in my head was, what if that free throw affected like an over-under?
Well, who cares?
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, there would be a lot in that instance.
If
would be a certain handful of people that would care.
Yeah, bet responsibly. All right, you can't get mad over a guy missing a free throw on an over. I get it though.
You
People
can't,
will
but
be.
people do.
People will be very mad. You know what? Those people should be more mad at than Boban missing that meaningless free throw with 4:44 to go in
Betting
the game.
on game 82 when it's the Clippers versus the Rockets.
Yeah, when there's no Kawhi Leonard, no Russell Westbrook, no Paul George, no Norman Powell, no Bones Highland, no Zubac. Like the Clippers didn't play anybody. If you're betting on that game, you got bigger problems, brother. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's like the Ipe special of I'm not good at this betting thing, am I? Yeah, you think? You're $40 million in the hole, bud. What was your first indicator there, Pally? But Boban, you are a man of the people, and I love you for it. All right? Hey, we haven't even talked Masters yet. We will get to...
how did we make it through the whole first hour?
Yeah, well, you derailed me with the Budenholzer conversation. We had to get Boban in there.
Yeah.
It just seemed like, we mentioned the Clippers. We had to go to Boban next. We got Masters that we need to get to. Also, got to ask the question, where do we stand? The good, the bad, the ugly, the Blazer season. That coming up in hour number 2. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan. Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours, whether it's on 1080 AM, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, youtube.com/1080am The Fan, twitch.tv/1080am The Fan. Thank you. God, there's a lot now.
There's a lot of ways you can take us in.
Yeah. Vancouver Ford text line. You can interact with the show and the comments on YouTube and Twitch as well. They all go to one nifty little place so we can see all your feedback for you. I have to admit, yesterday, I officially had the realization I'm an old man.
Ooh.
And I'm not an old man. Well, I'd like to make that very clear. I am not an old man.
No. Especially compared to me.
However, there was a moment where all the neighborhood kids were playing out in the cul-de-sac, and a couple of kids went on my grass where I just planted, reseeding the spots that had a little moss. I put so much time into that last weekend to rake it all out, plant new seed. 2 kids. One of them my own. They go into the yard, and I'm like, hey, guys, get off the lawn. And
Yeah.
I went, oh, no. Oh, no. Not only am I get off my lawn guy, yet I'm saying it with a mustache as I am sanding and oiling a table for the man cave.
Get off my porch.
And I'm watching the Masters in the TV in my garage.
Yeah. Hate to break it to you, you are officially an old man.
It was like, that was my first moment. I was sitting there and I had to take a long look in the mirror. Think about who I am right now. Because I had it was like the Holy Trinity. I had get off my lawn, watching golf, and then doing some meaningless activity on my Sunday. That's how I was filling my time. And you know what? It felt good. That's the problem that probably bothered me the most. I was like, it's a good little Sunday I had. Feeling good about it.
The only thing missing is maybe, a nice silver bullet sitting on the table there and see the neighbor across the way. Hey, Mike.
I'm not going to comment.
Okay. So those weren't missing.
Damn. It was that moment, though. I was like, yeah, it feels good. It feels right. It feels right. I've been waiting for this my whole life. I've always said that one of the things I look forward to the most is becoming an old man that can just sit on his front porch and say inappropriate things to anybody that walks by.
Right?
It's, non-discriminatory because I'm doing it to everybody.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm just going to fire them all off.
Nothing wrong with being an equal opportunity a-hole.
And I got to tell you, I'm going up the stairs. I'm hitting that landing. I'm in a landing. I got another flight that I need to get to the top of the stairs, but I've hit that first landing. And it feels good. It feels good to be in this area right now. Just yelling at kids, get off my lawn, sanding, oiling the table, and then just admiring it for a while.
Yeah.
Hey, wife, come out here. Looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, take a step back, put both hands on the hips, and just...
Looks good. What do you think? Yeah, it looks like a table. Yeah, but different. Yeah, but it looks different than what the last time you saw it.
Oh, man.
Nominally different. It is like the slightest of changes that we have there. But that was my Master Sunday, and I got to tell you, I felt very happy.
Absolutely.
With where I was. And then watching all the golf unfold, it was fantastic. We had a little bit of drama on the front, and then that 9th hole, Scotty Scheffler puts that approach and just tucks it up there, and you're like, uh-oh.
Well, yeah, and there was a while
Everybody
there, too,
else
where
is
right
in
at the
for it.
top, it got bananas and crazy, and you had a hard time keeping up with everything.
And I thought the storylines were fantastic, and there were a ton of storylines with Scotty Scheffler and his wife, and I was sitting there, she's pregnant, and I had this thought. I'm like, okay, he's on the 16th. He's got a 4-shot lead.
Yeah.
If he gets that call right now, there is no chance. Yeah. He's like, I already have my green jacket.
Yeah.
No, because you got to hop on that plane and get that back to Dallas.
Yes.
You're not missing. It'd be like, you know
What's
what?
that 20 minutes going to be?
I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this bad boy out.
Yeah.
But when you saw, whether it was, our boy Oberg, Ludwig Oberg going in the water, Max Homa finds the bushes, Colin Morikawa finds water, bushes, a tree. Like I feel bad for guys like Morikawa at the end. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
The
wheels really fell off.
The worst part was on 18, he hooks it hard into the woods and he's just like, I just need to get this ball close to the hole so Scotty Scheffler can have his moment.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I'm just delaying the inevitable for Scotty Scheffler to put on the green jacket at this point because I can't keep it on the fairway. But you had a little bit of drama early, but then we got to hear some of the other storylines kind of unfolding out of that final round of the Masters, which it was great to see, man. Like from Vern Lundquist having his final call as a broadcaster and seeing the reverence that the players like Tiger Woods going and shaking his hand and having a moment with him on 16 to the way that Jim Nantz said goodbye to Vern on those broadcasts. It was those moments in the final call on 16 that he had when Vern goes, thank you for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, he's been a voice for the last 40 years of the Masters.
Yeah.
That everybody can rely on and everybody knows.
Yep.
And I thought it was perfect the way that Nantz said his goodbye as they were doing the montage of Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler with another birdie, his 7th of the day. As Vern said, why not? Vern wrote a book back in 2018 called Play by Play. And the last line in the book that you wrote, Vern, I want to apply it to you. You said, thanks, to borrow a phrase. Thanks for your voice, instrument. Thank you for a wonderful soundtrack for all of our lives.
Thank you so much, Jim. My honor. My privilege.
How about that? The only thing that CBS missed on that, the music was too hot.
Too hot. That's on your A1.
You heard him, which is audio 1.
Yes.
You heard him faintly start choking up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And as his voice was kind of trailing off, think of everything that Vern has seen, whether it is football, golf.
Yeah, all those decades of SEC football.
Now you have him saying it's my honor, and you could barely hear him say my privilege.
Yes.
As he starts choking up at the end, and you're like, God.
Yeah.
Like that tournament, those moments, they're ingrained. Like the can you believe it?
Right.
With Tiger, whether maybe, yes, sir, for Jack in 86. He was there for all of it.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see the reverence there in that storyline. We got to see that play out because, I don't know if we get to see the replays in real time, like just shortly after of Tiger going up and shaking Vern's hand, if we do have that riveting golf and it does come down to those final couple of holes, because it didn't. Right. We got to let the Masters and the magnitude of the Masters and what it meant for everybody kind of fill the room. Mm-hmm. And then Vern saying goodbye, it was a huge part of it, man. It was really that was really cool for me.
It was a fun weekend, most definitely. The hardest part for me of the weekend itself was watching Tiger just fall apart on Saturday.
Well, in Tiger finishing last, but this is the thing. Tiger made the cut, and that's a win.
Yes, exactly.
He 24 in a row.
Yeah.
That is what Tiger Woods wanted to do.
And he didn't just squeak in either.
In 23 holes on Friday.
Yeah.
That did him in.
Yes.
He'd only played 24 holes of golf prior to the Masters.
Right.
In 23 in one day, in the ones that he had to play, where you're having to go up the hill on 18, which is a lot steeper than what it looks on TV,
yeah.
is you sit there and the guys say that haul up 18 is brutal. Yeah. And then right after that, you're going and circling around, you go back to one and you got to start over and you play 18 more. Like that did him in Saturday. I don't care. It was great to see like Charlie on the range on Sunday with him as his swing coach. Those moments were great, and that was fantastic. But the storylines, they were playing. Max Homa gets a top 3 finish. Which do you see him on Saturday? He just said he's dry, sarcastic, really funny. He's like, I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and I just gotta keep reminding myself I got dog in me, and I'm a dog. And I need to go.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then he got, Ludwig Oberg in his not just his first Masters, his first ever major.
Yeah.
And he finishes as the runner-up.
That dude is a ball. You know about him, what's incredible about him is he turned pro and he only has 23 starts. He has 2 wins, 11 top 10 finishes, a Ryder Cup win, and second in his very first Masters.
Yeah. It's
what?
Yeah. He could be in for some good things.
I mean,
and for a long time, because he's 24, I think.
Yeah, he's young.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler being 27.
Right. I had no idea he was that young.
My wife was like, "How old is he?" And I said, I think he's like 28, 29-ish.
Yeah.
And I went to look at him. I was like, 27. She's like, he looks like he's 43.
Yeah, I had no idea he was that young.
Yikes. But look, that's what being outside will do for you. And everybody says he's an old soul. Old soul. Oh, kind of,
old looking soul.
Looks old too. And then you had like the storyline of Neil Shipley, the Low-Am. He gets to play with Tiger in the final round. You see the hubbub about that final round?
No.
Oh. The rules Nazis were out and in full force.
I saw on one fairway, on a fairway, he wrote something and handed you a note. What was that about? Did you?
No, he didn't.
Oh, I thought he wrote something and handed you a piece of paper.
No, that didn't happen.
Okay.
Can't be passing notes on the course.
Fake news?
Fake news,
yeah.
Apparently. We know that Tiger, like he slipped Justin Thomas a tampon. Remember that one when he outdrove him?
Yes.
And this poor kid, he's got like his moment.
Yeah.
Where dude is playing at Ohio State and now he's Low-Am and he's getting that question at the Masters. He looked terrified up there. He was like,
oh God, what happened?
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
I believe there is a note, and I hope that note had something very vulgar written on it because of what we know about Tiger Woods.
Yes.
But, the reality is probably nothing on it.
Right.
Probably nothing at all on it. But that storyline was great where you have, how many times is the Low-Am, because of how bad they usually finish in the Masters, do you get to play your final round with Tiger Woods?
Right. No kidding.
Everybody's golf idol. Then you have the story of Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood hired a local caddy to be on his bag for the Masters.
That's fantastic.
A guy who is he's a looper for Augusta National. His name is Gray Moore, which is the best caddy name ever, and he looks like a guy, old Gray Moore on the bag for you.
Yeah, well, especially down there in the South too.
So Fleetwood puts together a top 3 finish, which is a purse of $1.04 million. The average payout for a caddy is around 8%. Unless you're Matt Kuchar, who I guess gave $800 when he did this and hired a local caddy. But if you go $1.04 million, you go 8% of that. Old Gray Moore, $83,000.
Wow.
For being on the bag for the weekend.
Boy, old Gray Moore, he ain't what he used to be.
No, he's not. And that is, dude, that's so many great storylines throughout. From Scotty Scheffler himself, Ludwig Oberg being just as impressive, even though I will say Oberg was humming until he lost his power bar. Did you see the power bar gate?
Oh, I that was when I believe I left home to go run a couple errands. It was right after both Scheffler and Morikawa got to 7 under, and Homa and Oberg were at 6 under.
He got the power bar knocked out of his hand. He was 3 under on the round. Finished even.
Oof.
Finished even.
Now, if it's just a power bar, now,
bar.
Was this in dirt or the grass?
Grass. I don't
pick it up. You pick that son of a gun up and you brush it off and you eat it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. He ended up getting a sandwich.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's curse of the power bar, though. It messed up his mojo. Great Masters. I was thrilled with the Masters. I think Scotty Scheffler. Thank you, Scotty Scheffler. Even though his odds were the lowest to win.
Yeah.
That's
what happens when you're the best golfer in the world.
Yeah. Like Rob scoffed at me when he was like, who your bets on? And I was like, well, Will Zalatoris didn't work out for me.
No.
And then I was like, and I put some money on Scotty Scheffler too.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, duh. And he lived up to all the hype. But what a great Masters it was. We will have little bit more on the Masters because, oh buddy, the stuffies were out at the Masters. But coming up next, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. The good, the bad, the ugly. We wrap up 82 games of the Portland Trailblazers next on The Fan. 2024 season, 21-61 on the season. Only 36 games out of first place in the West. So,
is that all?
Yeah, not that bad. Only 43 games off the best record in the NBA, the Boston Celtics, which had 64 wins. Yeah, that's a doozy right there. The good, the bad, and the ugly from this Blazers season. 503-864-6326. I want to hear from Blazer fans, kind of get inventory on where everybody's at, because as the season wraps up and we get to the end of it, and you look at 40 games under 500, which I don't know why they say 40 games under 500, but because it was only 20 games under 500.
Yeah, it's always
41 and 41 is 500. They were only 20 games behind them.
Yeah, just don't make no sense.
Yeah, but at the same time, we knew that this was going to be the lot that the Blazers were in. And the reality is that 21 losses, is that all that different than 31 or 21 wins? Is that all that different than 31 wins that the Utah Jazz had? No, because in this portion of the rebuild, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year when we were consistent with it, like 28 being that over-under win total, that was like the ceiling for where this roster was and what the goal was throughout the course of this year. They were young. They were inexperienced. We saw the flurry of moves that happened before the season even started that led them to this point, and you were breaking in a rookie point guard in Scoot Henderson. And I think as we take a look at what they were, is their lack of competitiveness this season, it's frustrating as a fan to sit there and go through it night in and night out. And look, I commend Kevin Calabro, Lamar Hurd, and Brooke Olzendam for putting on an entertaining product, even in those stretches where you knew that they were not going to win. There was nothing to play for. And it was bleak, man, especially with the injury bug kind of hitting this team too. And I think if you look at the bad from this season, the injuries are definitely, almost tops on the list, especially Shaedon Sharpe.
Mm-hmm.
The injury to Shaedon Sharpe, that kind of derailed the growth and momentum that he could have been gaining at 32 games. You sat there and you said you started to see those sparks and turning into that player that people had hoped he could become. He has to go and get that abdominal surgery. That was just a big downer for this team. Scoot Henderson, where he started to look a little bit comfortable, he gets hurt, and then he has to kind of start over again. I think the last 20 games of the season, Scoot was good. I mean, Scoot showed,
at the very least, he had showed improvement.
A lot more comfort and a lot more of that burst and that pop that we thought he would get.
Right.
There are still miles to go in Scoot Henderson's development.
Yes.
And this is not to say that, like, he in 20 games changed my mind one way or the other on him. The verdict is still out on what he can do, because in the end, this era of the NBA, you have to be able to shoot. And we started to see that little bit of a creator, that little bit of that kind of pit bull on the defensive end starting to show, even though it's not there yet, right? And it's not complete. Nothing is complete with his game. You started to see growth and development. And then, heck, the last couple of nights, he was actually shooting threes. Not too shabby. But you're going to need to see a shooter. Anthony Simons, I think there's a lot TBD there. Because that was the big one, is that now that Dame is gone, he is the leader of this franchise. And and Danny may disagree with me when he gets in here, but this is one of the things that you sit there and you look at with this Trailblazers team is, I don't think that Anthony Simons is that dog that can pull you to wins.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that you need. That is a massive void that this team has. I'll say DeAndre Ayton was a bright spot.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant's injuries were, and look, DA, he had that roller coaster of the injury bug too. Jeremy Grant's injuries were a major concern, and moving forward, you're looking at, all right, or Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons going to be in the fold and in the future of what Portland is doing and trying to build towards.
Yeah, and I think for me, the frustrating part about Simons is that next year will be year 7.
Yeah.
And we still don't know.
Yeah.
We still don't know. 6+ years in, and we still don't know.
No.
And the worst part is that even after next year, even outside of Simons, what have we learned about Chauncey Billups as a coach because of roller coaster seasons like this and injuries and guys in and out of the lineups? And we still don't. 3 years into that, we still don't know what kind of coach Chauncey Billups is.
I thought that what we saw from a lot of role players, like the one thing that Danny has been preaching, and we saw it, the draft and development, the Tumani Kamara trade knocked it out of the park. We saw at the end of the year, Ryan Rupert and his comfortability in shooting the ball and developing that stroke.
Yeah.
He has the potential to be a very fine role player. Chris Murray, also, you saw great spurts out of Chris Murray of being a role player. They got the role players dialed in. And look, this team is not far off from being able to compete night in and night out. To compete for a title is a completely different story and completely a different orbit that this organization is dealing with right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you sit there, and as bad as it was, as much as people don't want to acknowledge it or admit it, because 21-61 is a tough one to stare down. There was development in a lot of areas for this team. It shouldn't sit well with people that, I mean, in reality, this is they're going to be entering year 3 of a complete rebuild, but it's year 5 of non-competitive basketball. That sucks.
Yeah.
Especially for a fan base, a city that is used to being competitive.
Yeah.
And look, Neil O'Shea built a roster that was able to compete and be a playoff team year in and year out. And he did, like, as much as we want to criticize Neil O'Shea for all the rightful reasons that we do criticize Neil O'Shea, he did build a competitive roster and did a really good job at that. He also, like, Chad Buchanan did the legwork on Dame. Like, it wasn't like he drafted Dame and found this diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
That legwork had already been done. But then that was the centerpiece, the focal point of this organization. What he did was he was able to put a lot of pieces that made a competitive team, a playoff team, a top 4 seed in the Western Conference a few times, but made them competitive. I think that this team is lacking star power, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're starting to see the draft development of guys. It was working. Their eye for guys like Duop Reith, who's not a starting big in the NBA.
No.
But finding those guys that can fill a role in down the line type roster building.
Yeah.
The bones are there, but the biggest pieces are missing.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it still doesn't feel like you see the light at the end of the tunnel. You wonder how far off that still is. And also, as much as O'Shea did, air quotes, succeed in building a competitive roster, look, we're a couple of years removed from him, but he's still a lot of the reason why the Blazers are at where they're at right now. You know, and it's hard seeing the light at the end of the tunnel because not only does it not feel like we have a 1 on the current roster, I'm not sure that we have a 2 on the current roster. Because is on a good team, is Jeremy Grant going to be your second best player?
No, Anthony Simons could be,
or like DeAndre Ayton,
but they're missing a 1 and a bona fide 2. Yeah.
Yes,
and that's the thing is, do you start pushing reset? And DeAndre Ayton, when he plays like we saw, when he turns it on,
he's got some flashes, man.
100% he can be.
Yeah.
He can be that guy that you're talking about.
But if he can do that, but he needs to be able to do that night in and night out, and he hasn't been able to prove that yet.
No doubt about it. I mean, and that's where we are. I want to know where Blazer fans are. 503-864-6326. That'd be the Vancouver Ford text line. They are miles away from where they want to be. This offseason is massive. It is.
Yeah.
Because they untangled the mess from O'Shea. They have put themselves with a couple of tradable contracts, whether that is Malcolm Brogdon on an expiring deal, whether that is a team looking for a guy like Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons. to go and make some bigger swings. And now, if the lottery ball goes your way later this week, and you get the third best odds for the lottery come May 12th, all of a sudden, if you win the lottery, like this is like a top 2 kind of draft right now.
Yeah, it's not a great draft.
You're hoping on lottery balls, and then we find a direction, and big changes can be made. There's attractive players, role players, down the line players.
You're not getting your superstar here.
Not on this roster.
Yeah.
Not right
now. I
mean,
not in this draft.
And I think that was one of the ones that when there's been like this selling of hope that maybe Ant turns the corner, and we've seen what you've mentioned it. What, 7 years now?
Yeah, he just finished his 6th season.
He is very young.
Yeah,
and he is a really damn good
24
player.
Still?
Yeah, I think he is 24 years old. He's a really damn good player. But look at every other team that is competitive, that is a playoff competitive team. They are leaps and bounds above any caliber of player that we look at with the Portland Trailblazers. You could just go down the line, whether it's Jason Tatum, Jalen Brunson, Giannis. You can go to Darius Garland in Cleveland. Well, actually, they've got a good young core.
Yes,
in Cleveland. So does Orlando. They need shooters.
Isn't it
though,
weird to say the words something along the lines of that the Cavaliers have done it right and well?
Oh, they have. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana. You've got Joel Embiid, obviously. Jimmy Butler in Miami. Then you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder with SGA and Chet. Jokic and Jamal Murray in Denver. You got Karl Anthony Towns and Ant Edwards in Minnesota. You've got the trio that is older than sin, but you have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook in LA with the Clippers. Luka and Kyrie in Dallas. KD, Book, and Beal, when healthy, in Phoenix. Every single one of these teams that is competitive, that is a playoff team, leaps and bounds. Their number one is miles ahead of where Portland is. They're number 2. We mentioned a lot of number 2s on these teams that are miles ahead of where Portland is.
Yeah.
And that is the point, and that's the crapshoot. And that's the hardest part. And look, that's where there's a lot of pessimism, and I understand it because those guys are very hard to find.
Yeah.
503-864-6326. That's the Vancouver Ford text line. Right now is Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
Your new floors are in stock and ready to install at PG Long, your Northwest flooring experts, pglongllc.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers season mercifully came to an end after yesterday's blowout loss to the Kings. They managed to catch the Spurs for the worst record in the Western Conference and are tied with the Hornets for the 3rd worst record in the league. There will be a drawing later this week to break the tie to determine draft lottery odds. Western Conference play-in games are tomorrow night. The 8th place Lakers will play the 7th place Pelicans. The winner gets the 7th seed and will face the Nuggets. Loser will face the winner of tomorrow's Kings-Warriors game, and then those two teams will play again on Friday for the 8th seed. The Suns and guard Grayson Allen have agreed to a 4-year, $70 million extension that includes a player option. Over in the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Colts and defensive tackle DeForest Buckner have agreed to a 2-year, $46 million extension. And the Mariners dropped 2 of 3 to the Cubs over the weekend. The 9-6 Cincinnati Reds roll into T-Mobile Park for a 3-game set. Frankie Montas and George Kirby is your pitching matchup, 6:42 first pitch on Brute Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
If you can't find the humor in today's NBA, you're doing it wrong. Heat Check with Trista Crick on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks.
All right, time for our worst day on the web, and we're done. Went over talking Blazer stuff, but we got a lot of really good texts, and we will get to those at the top of the 2 o'clock hour because Blazer fans, you want now's your time to have your voice heard. We'll get to those. We got some Master stuff too, but our worst day on the web today. Did you know there are people called professional squatters?
Oh, okay.
Do you know that this is a thing where they will target a certain location and then they notice it's vacant and then they barricade themselves in?
Oh, yeah, professional freeloaders.
Yeah. The dudes of the world, if you will. Well, Gordon Ramsay, the red-ass British chef that everybody loves to hate, and I think people love Gordon Ramsay too. Gordon Ramsay has a restaurant called York and Albany in jolly old London town. And it was temporarily closed as they were renegotiating the lease for the restaurant. And during that time, these professional squatters took over the restaurant and everything inside of it and have barricaded themselves in, and there's nothing that anybody can do to get the $16.1 million pub back into the possession of Gordon Ramsay.
See, this is something that's always baffled me. How is it that that people to just go in and move it into an empty place that is owned by somebody else? How is it that they have so many rights?
No, squatters' rights are something
It's willing.
I'm willing to listen to anybody that can explain to me what squatters' rights are.
Right.
But what it sounds like is you take over somebody else's property and you say, "Minesies."
Yeah.
And then they're like,
keepers.
"Oh, well, that's a tough one. Can't get them out." No, pretty easy, right?
Get them out. They don't own the joint. It's not theirs.
So, in how long do you squat until you have these said rights?
Yeah, what does it take? How long does it take? Are we talking a day, a week, a month? What are we talking here?
Yeah.
I mean, am I in there for a half an hour and it's mine?
This is something I'm always just enthralled when I see these stories. And we've seen these stories, there was a house on the east side here in Portland where there was a big squatters issue and they had this squatters rights and people are like, "Well, we own the building." Okay, why can't you just get the people out of there?
Yeah.
It's something that I would love to hear why it is that they have said squatters' rights.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't make sense if the property is somebody else's,
right?
If the building is somebody else's, everything inside of it, in this case for Gordon Ramsay, and this is in London, this isn't even in the States, that the things inside the building are the property of somebody else, but they're like, "Nah, is mine now." It's like, I'm the captain now.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's what I wonder.
What?
Could the owner of said building say, look, we got a bug problem. We gotta fumigate. We gotta get some exterminators in there and fumigate. Put the old tent up and fumigate the hell out of that joint. Is that not within their rights? And be like, "Hey, you know what? You can stay in there if you want, but you're not gonna survive."
That's a good. Ooh, that's a great question. Like, hey,
just go bug bomb the hell out of that place.
Well, squatters' rights, obviously. That's why you can't do it. Squatters' rights. Possession is 9/10 of the law, and this is mine now.
It's frustrating.
I
don't
know.
It's mind-boggling.
I don't. Well, then again, it's like, how do most countries get their boundaries?
Valid point.
Claimsies.
Yeah.
Squatters' rights. And I would not be surprised one bit if that is the legal precedent. There's somebody who's just like, "Oh yeah."
Of course, also most of the time those also involved weaponry and just overtaking a smaller, weaker people, but war and stuff.
Yeah. Apparently the folks that are taken up in this place, the Sun over there, their tabloid paper.
Yes.
They got pictures of the guy. One guy has 2 black eyes and his like athletic tape on his knee, like he just got knocked out by Max Holloway. Did you see the end of UFC 300?
Look, I don't think there's a single thing on the sports landscape that I could give less of a crap about than MMA.
But that fight, UFC 300, that was an incredible finish.
Yeah.
Basically, Max Holloway is just beating up this dude. They're in the 5th round. In the final 10 seconds, he goes, let's go. Middle of the ring. And they just threw haymakers.
Yeah.
And Holloway could have just he could have wasted away the time and just won it. But with 2 seconds left, bop, got him. It was an incredible flurry of punches at the end of a 5-round fight. And he just got him. Lights out, middle of the mat. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was like what you hope every big fight should be. And
they never are.
No, but we got it at the end. And I was here for it. But one of the guys squatting in Gordon Ramsay's place, he looks like he just caught one of those shots from Max Holloway and just night. Oh, man.
I wonder how he got those 2 black guys.
You
trying to go find another place to squat?
Yeah, probably somebody said no.
Yeah.
All right, 503-864-6326. That's a Vancouver Ford text line. This is Danny and Dusty. Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. I love Jackie Day. Oh,
Yeah.
also Tax Day.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
God, why they got to do Jackie dirty like that?
I mean,
I realize what it's probably corresponds with his debut, but
that's what it is. You ding, 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 ding. You got it there, boss. But I had the Guardians. God, I'm still not used to the Guardians.
Right.
It doesn't take me too long to catch on to what new team names are.
Mm-hmm.
Guardians is just not. Doesn't stick with me.
It's just a lame name.
It is a lame name.
They should have gone with the Spiders.
That would have been great.
Should have gone with the Spiders.
Spider is an underused mascot because spiders are deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Spiders are pretty cool looking.
Yeah. I mean,
you can do a lot with the logo.
Yeah.
I mean, they are. I want to smash them every time I see them.
Right.
Just like every opponent will want to smash you. But guess what? You can bite them. You'll sneak up and you'll bite them. They're Cleveland. But Guardians, Red Sox, like we're sitting there like, Guardians such a lame name. The Red Sox, that's a name.
Well, but at least that's because, that was in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
Whatever. They
Yeah.
had lame names for everything.
Sure.
Except for Tungsten Armo Doyle.
Except for their nicknames.
Yes.
Their team names were terrible. The players' names, that's what they cared about. Not
Yes.
the name on the front. They cared about their name on the back.
Exactly.
All these red-assed coaches have it wrong.
Yeah.
It's not about the name on the back, on the front. It's about the name on the back. Just like Tungsten Armo Doyle.
Yeah.
Old Oil Can O'Hallahan over there.
Yeah.
Like all these guys, they were great. They had awesome nicknames. But they beat the Red Sox 6-0. It is very confusing when I look out and I'm like, I have no idea who they're all number 42.
Yeah.
But it's the best tribute in sports. That one day every year Major League Baseball does it. And it means a whole hell of a lot to the history of the game. And I think it's really cool that every number is retired 42 is retired in every stadium.
Yep.
And that every player wears number 42 on Jackie Robinson Day. Be ready for this one, though, because did you see the Red Sox uniforms?
No.
The 42, it's like Dodger blue on their jerseys. I do not remember that. If this is a new Fanatics thing, it looked awful. In the Guardians uniforms, they looked pretty normal. But there was like a bright blue 42 on the back of the Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
No. Fanatics and Nike are screwing this thing up. But yet again, we shouldn't be surprised by that.
Right.
Happy Jackie Robinson Day, everybody. Have you seen 42?
No,
the movie?
I've not.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
It's sport. Sometimes it's just like the sportsy movie.
Yeah.
They lose me sometimes just because everything looks so fake. All the action, it always looks fake.
Yeah. No, it's
one of the hardest things to pull off in Hollywood, but but for me, that's why.
It was really well done. And what they did, though, was they only focused on 2 years of Jackie Robinson's life.
Okay.
And it was his first 2 years in baseball. And Chadwick Boseman did a really good job of, as well as you can, emulating Jackie Robinson in his mannerisms and his style of play. But you're right. Like, sports movies are really tough. And it was... I loved the fact that it was the good, the bad, and the ugly of his foray into Major League Baseball.
Right.
But it also, if you watch the movie 42, it leaves you wanting to learn more about him. And I hope that more people do.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was such a fascinating person. I mean, it was far more than just breaking the color barrier in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
He was never afraid.
Yeah.
Even though he was internally. He never portrayed that fear on the exterior. And he's such a strong human being to go through the racism that he went through, the death threats, the hatred. But the person that is Jackie Robinson, the fact that whether it was at UCLA being a three-sport star, like, and we're not talking just like, Oh yeah,
He was pretty good.
He played 4 sports.
Uh-huh.
He was a star in 3 of them. Legitimately.
Yeah.
A star. And he was just everything that you would want an athlete to be as far as a role model, a person. Dude, Jackie was great.
Speaking
I love
of
Jackie Robinson.
If you really want to know a little bit more about Jackie Robinson, here's a little nugget I read on the Twitters earlier.
Okay.
So I believe it said it was 1952. He and his wife were expecting their 3rd child.
Oh.
And so they were looking to buy a larger home for their growing family, right? And apparently around then, when they're out looking for homes to buy and whatnot, the certain homes that they would go try to buy and look at would suddenly come off the market and no longer be available. I wonder why, right? So apparently, at this point, she was about 9 years old, whatever. But Carly Simon's dad heard about the problems he was having.
Really?
They had found a piece of land, the Robinsons did, a piece of land somewhere to build a home. But the problem was it was going to take 1.5 years to build a home, and so they had nowhere to go in the meantime. They moved in with Carly Simon's family until the house was built.
No way.
And so, like, just in the backyard, Jackie Robinson would be out there tossing the ball around with 9-year-old Carly Simon. And yeah.
That's crazy.
Crazy, huh?
Like, God, you hear some of these stories are just wild. Like Julia Roberts and her connection to Martin Luther King Jr., right?
Right.
Like her dad was their doctor, I think.
Wow, okay.
I think that's what it was.
Sure.
That is a wild story.
Right?
Yeah.
Just, yeah. Crazy stuff, man.
All right. Hey, let's get to hour number 3. Your feedback on the Blazers, the good, the bad, and the ugly of a 21-61 season. This is Danny Dusty on The Fan. Dirty and Dusty on this Monday. No orangutan today. The Blazers exit interviews going long today. But we're opening this thing up to you at 503-864-6326, Vancouver Ford text line. And in the chats, youtube.com/1080am the fan and twitch.tv/1080am the fan. All right. I want to hear from Blazer fans and just take inventory of where you guys are at. Getting the lay of the land, this Blazer season, we knew what it was heading into it. The expectations were met for what they were going to be. 21-61. That is about it. You take all the injuries into account. Yeah, I mean, that's 6 or 7 wins here or there. Gives you that 28.5 Vegas over-under. And Portland easily gliding in with the under. So I want to get your feedback on what this season was. This text says, I just wish more Blazer fans were willing to make a statement by not showing up. I refuse to even accept free tickets because they gouge the fans when they get in the door. I can get a $20 beer there while I have $18 15-pack of Ninkasi in my fridge. Now, I don't think that this is unique to Portland in that regard.
Yeah.
It is expensive to go to a game. It's jarring if you're going to a game, and whether you're going with somebody else or you're taking your family. Like, those prices are expensive. I wish more franchises, including the Portland Trailblazers, took a page out of the Atlanta Falcons.
Right.
And or the Masters, where go with the cut rate. Even if the quality, and what the Blazers do have, they have a lot of really good quality, kind of the local restaurant pop-ups that they have around the arena. Those are nice to have, and those are good to have. But also at the same time, give these ultra affordable options, because that's what keeps people coming back and will keep fans happy, especially in a time like this. But even to have it, like I think the Falcons have released over several years now, is that people come back and they buy more. They're buying more product from you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because guess what? Instead of a $12 beer, maybe go have 2 $6 beers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is not rocket surgery.
But I understand that plight, and I get it. I get it. We were talking about Scoot Henderson earlier. Last 20 games of the season, Scoot, he did look more comfortable. He looked like he was playing at a far better clip. And look, there was never going to be this. And people that thought that Scoot was going to come in and take over and be as efficient or effective as a Damian Lillard, that was never the expectation, because Damian Lillard had 4 years of college experience, had a roster that was far more complete around him.
Yeah.
And had the ability to shoot, which is a big shortcut in the NBA. Scoot was going to be a project, and we know this, right? But if you look at just the last handful of games of this season, you saw a little bit of scoring pop, the comfortability of him being a bit more of a creator, and his assist numbers obviously showed that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you playing against teams that sometimes are mailing it in and you're getting your teeth kicked in and those numbers can be propped up? Yeah, they can be.
Yeah.
But we did see growth out of Scoot, and like this text says, you know who else had comparable rookie stats to Scoot? Johnny Flynn. Yeah. I mean,
I'm not sure which direction he's trying to go there.
I'm not gonna polish a turd for anybody here.
Uh-huh.
But 14, 3, and 5 is a good baseline for him. What we saw
thrown into the fire
was a 19-year-old who turned 20 during the season go through some very real struggles. Expected.
Yeah.
I don't think we know one way or another what Scoot Henderson will be as an NBA player based off of these 82 games. But because of, one, being 19 for a majority of this season, injury kind of derailed him when he was starting to see an uptick, and then just being in the NBA and him not being a polished player. Also, let's not kid ourselves, the roster around him did not set him up for a ton of success in year one. We know he needs dead-eye shooters around him to kind of maximize that. We don't know what Scoot Henderson will be. The people that are in the camp of Scoot is already a bust, it's still far too early to say that. But it is also far too early to say he will be a building block of this franchise. And if you were to ask me right now which way the organization would go in 2 or 3 years, I think that would be his skill set, if growth continues, is going to be a tradable asset to where it fits somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they get those dead-eye shooters in around Portland, or he develops a three-point shot that, hey, last game of the year was pretty damn good for him when he played Houston. But outside of that, it was not, because he did not play yesterday. It was not that was not the case for a majority of this season. But we did see an uptick as the season went on. Encouraging sign, yes. We don't know either way which way it'll be. This text says, look to trade Time Lord in the offseason or keep him into next season and maybe trade him high if healthy. Look, not having Robert Williams this year, they pulled the plug on that really early.
Yeah.
Just said, hey, let your knee heal. We'll get you in a full year coming up next season. Big bodies are hard to come by in the NBA. When he is healthy, he is a very serviceable player. I think we forget that he's even on the roster sometimes.
Right, no, exactly.
But that's where I go back to, this team is not as far off from being competitive in games during the regular season.
Yeah.
As 21-61 would lead you to believe.
Well, and DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams III would be a hell of a 1-2 punch at center.
Yes, it would be.
That's a lot of talent right there.
Yeah, they really would be. I think we also forget Malcolm Brogdon because of how early he was shut down. That the tradable asset and the tradable piece that he could be moving into this offseason. This roster is so far away, folks. It is so far away from being a competitive playoff team. It is not that far off from being competitive game night in and night out, which is probably not it's not what you want to hear heading into 2025, where the draft class is absolutely loaded to the gills.
Yeah.
And if they have another season like they did this year, they might be in a position. But here's the slippery slope, is that we said this year, we're entering year 3 of a true rebuild.
Yeah.
Heading into next season. It's actually year 5 of non-competitiveness. And you don't want that to permeate within your organization.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me, I think we see revolving doors again this offseason, because you don't want losing to become your culture.
Well, and with this draft that it isn't exactly deep, and next year's, which is supposed to be. So yeah, I mean, are we supposed to expect another Tankopotamus next year? I mean, is that the end game? Is this the process?
I think
we supposed to trust it?
May 12th will be an indicator of that. If they get 1 or 2 in that draft, I think that you're a little bit more optimistic. The free agency period, to me, which is not free agency, it's trading.
Yes.
It's your trade period.
Yeah.
And we've heard Joe Cronin wants to be aggressive every single offseason.
Yep.
And look, for people that say he has not been aggressive, he has been, because look at the Damian Lillard return that's kind of been turned over a couple of times now. If Malcolm Brogdon gets dealt, then that Damian Lillard trade is still not over yet. If other pieces get moved, you sit there and you look at it and you go, all right, there are a lot of moves to be made that wholly change the construction and core of this roster.
Yeah.
And I feel like if the Blazers organization wants to push in for next year, we're going to see some bigger changes.
Yeah.
You can't just sit there and rip it to the studs like we've seen over the last 2 years, though, because I think what we're seeing is the fan base is out on that.
Yeah, and how long will the fan base be okay with them seemingly continually kicking the can down the road?
Yep.
And saying, but next year's draft is really good.
Well, this text says, with the strength of the next year's draft, I'd anticipate another 60-loss team. It'll be interesting to see what they do with some of the vets on this team this year. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
And that's the thing, too, is that even though,
it will be interesting.
You've got your diehard fans that see that and realize that, okay, yeah, they're trying to maybe push forward one more year and get to that next good draft. But for for your, I don't even want to say fringe fans, but for your regular everyday fans, you know what I mean?
Yep.
At what point you'd rather have angry fans than apathetic fans.
Sure.
And I feel like they're on the verge of
well, we saw this
apathetic fan
like
base.
this text says, I've told myself for 5 years that this is year Travis Outlaw pops. I won't fall in that trap again. I'll believe it when I see it about any of these quote unquote kids, right? Yeah. That's an okay mental state to be in, because there should be apprehension.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we go over this, like it doesn't matter who the GM is or who the owner is. I mean, think of it. Everybody wants to point the finger at Jody Allen. Jody Allen has spent money on a G League team like the Remix to try and develop talent. It's not like they're shortchanging the staff or the roster, right? Because they had a pretty high roster for 61 losses. I think they're still top 7 in salary in the NBA. Is that right?
Sure.
But they're not over the luxury tax threshold, but they're hovering around it. And the way the CBA is kind of built, you are rewarded for that in the NBA with salary slotting. Jody Allen, think of where the Blazers are right now. They got to the place of being forced into this situation because of Neil Olshey and holding on to him for so long. And look, if we're being honest, last conference finals was 22 years ago for this team. Or, I mean, competitiveness, not 2019 where we know.
Yeah.
You know, that was
where you got mopped.
Just absolutely doors blown off.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at a chance of making it to the NBA finals, it's been 22 years. And that's how long it's been. So it was in that influx, and then the J.O. Blazer era was under the eye of Paul Allen, right? And then you go to whether it was, Steve Patterson to Kevin Pritchard to Rich Cho to briefly Chad Buchanan on an interim basis, and then Neil Olshey. Think about where this turnover has been and injuries knocking their 3 pillars out in Roy, Aldridge, and Oden. Them's the breaks in the NBA, right?
Yep.
They had a core, and then the new CBA kind of blew all of that up, and they had to restart and overpay a lot of guys to stick around. And if Wes Matthews does not go down with an Achilles, I think that roster is wildly competitive in the West. Like that was probably, you had a super young Damian Lillard, and if he stays healthy, what does that look like moving forward? But it really has been like the idea that this team has been close to contending for a championship in the last 22 years. It hasn't.
No.
It hasn't.
No, it has not.
And so this isn't just Joe Cronin or Jody Allen. And everybody wants to point at ownership. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, because you don't want to point at Dems to break sometimes.
Right.
Or, the lottery gods not falling in your power. Sometimes you just have that lot and you got to restart and then build your way back up. And I'm glad that they tore it down to the studs and are doing it now. Some people aren't about that life though. And we're finding that out with this fan base. So get to more of your feedback as the show goes on. But I want to revisit the Masters a little bit, because Augusta National, it got us again. Next on The Fan. All right, 503-864-6326. This text, we'll get one more Blazer text in here before we move on because we got turn and burn here real quick. Then we'll get to Masters and Augusta National striking again. This text says, don't you think an owner willing to spend more would be better? Like the Clippers with Steve Ballmer? Again, remember when Steve Ballmer bought the team? It was, he's going to move that team to Seattle. He's going to take them on back. And he said, no, I bought this team because I bought LA, right? And LA is the allure there. And being in Los Angeles, you can attract players via free agency a lot easier, right? And we know that time and time again. If you look at where the Portland Trailblazers are heading into this season with their salary cap space, I think they ended up right around the middle of the pack. And look, they spent $171 million on this roster. They're wedged in between Dallas and Cleveland.
Huh.
With their available cap space.
Couple of playoff teams. If you look at it, of non-playoff teams, they are the highest spenders. Oh, yay.
The Memphis Grizzlies are the next closest. Blazers at $171 million, and the Grizzlies at $162. You take also the fact that the Blazers, with the remix, investing money in that for player development, that is, look, you're not getting big pushes out of the G League, right? Mm-hmm. What you're doing is you're hoping that you can identify and develop some role players that can be serviceable when you get them to the NBA. Very few guys that we sit there and like, star from the G League.
Right.
How do they miss him? But it's a worthy investment, and it's not one that is a money maker for you. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not a money maker. So the whole idea that the Blazers don't spend, they do spend. And look, people can get mad that, well, you're spending all this money and you're still not very good. Because if you look at the teams that spent the least amount of money, they are Utah, Detroit, Orlando, which has been on rookie scale deals for a majority of their guys because they're always high in the lottery. Mm-hmm. Now they finally have popped. Charlotte is at the bottom. In the top, the bottom five spenders are Utah, Detroit, Orlando, Charlotte, and San Antonio. Okay. Now, Orlando is the one that's in there that is a playoff team this year, that they've been the whipping boy of the league. So the idea that that ownership isn't spending money is not correct. They are.
Yeah.
The way that the CBA is structured, where if you get rid of some of your high price contracts and in the way you dollar for dollar in trades, sending money out and bringing money in, it's hard to bring in high paid players that are that star caliber without having them on your roster already, especially in Portland, because you're not going to ring up the free agent market. Okay. We know that. And so, look, I understand the argument of, well, they're spending all this money and for 61 losses. Yeah, but they are spending the money.
Yeah.
And so money is not the object here.
Right.
It is, can you take this roster and flip it to being a competitive one in the next 2 seasons? Because I think that when you look at whether it's Chauncey, who got the vote of confidence from Joe Cronin today, or Joe Cronin himself as a decision maker and general manager, this offseason and next season, they better make some monumental strides for job security's sake.
Because you've got some great ancillary pieces, but what you need that big 1, 2, and maybe 3.
Blazers are really good on the margins. I think Toumani Camara is going to be a guy that I love the way he plays. I think Ryan Rupert is going to be a guy that is both those guys, solid role players in the NBA.
Yeah, Kamara has been a tremendous, very pleasant surprise.
Guys that you just hang your hat on, and the city of Portland will love having them here because of their style of play. Mm-hmm. No ego amigos. They are guys you want to have around. It is star power. And, whether it's you have a core that is good, but you don't have that great player on this roster. The core is good.
Yeah.
Ant, Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton. You add into that, whether it is coming off the bench or in that starting lineup with Toumani Camara and Ryan Rupert. Like, they have a solid core where you're like, that's why I say they're not far off from being competitive in the regular season, like competitive night in and night out in games. They are light years away from being competitive at a star level, which wins in the NBA. Exactly. We know it wins in the NBA.
Yeah, they need that guy.
They do.
And probably another that guy.
Because every team that you're sitting there and you're saying they have conference finals or NBA finals aspirations, not to win it even, just to be in the conference finals or to be in the NBA finals, they have two.
Yeah.
They have two.
Yep.
And Blazers don't. All right, the Masters strikes again. Augusta National. Stuffy. But I'm not mad at them for this one. Next on The Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, the Trailblazers season mercifully coming to an end after yesterday's blowout loss to the Kings. They did manage to catch the Spurs for the worst record in the West and are tied with the Hornets for the third worst record in the league. There will be a drawing later this week to break the tie to determine draft lottery odds. Western Conference play-in games are tomorrow night. The 8th place Lakers will play at the 7th place Pelicans. The winner gets the 7th seed and will face the Nuggets. The loser will face the winner of tomorrow's Kings-Warriors game, and then those two teams will play on Friday for the 8th seed. In the NFL, ESPN's Adam Schefter reporting the Colts and defensive tackle DeForest Buckner have agreed to a 2-year, $46 million extension. And in baseball, the Mariners dropped 2 of 3 to the Cubs over the weekend. They welcomed the 9-6 Cincinnati Reds into T-Mobile Park for a 3-game set. Frankie Montas and George Kirby is your pitching matchup. 6:42 first pitch on Root Sports. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Tired of getting dinged by subscriptions? We won't send you a bill. Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Things have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around.
Boy, what a great song for a master segment, huh? Oh, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter.
Girl, you something else.
All right, at the Masters, they gave us a little bit of everything. Scotty Scheffler is dominant. I like Scotty Scheffler, man. He's a good-ass dude. And I just find myself pulling for guys like Scheffler. In him winning, that was like foregone conclusion, especially when he made that turn on 9 when he tucked it tight, and then again on 16 when he slammed the door shut. It was awesome, and he's a good dude. I like him. And look, he might be a robot, as one texter points out, but at the same time, he's a more fun robot than most of the donkeys that we see in professional golf.
Right.
One guy who's stepping up his game, though, he made headlines when he on Thursday wore, I don't even know, like hammer pants on the course.
Yeah, they were pretty baggy.
Jason Day was a whole thing. Do we have that audio on the board? I thought I saw it on there.
Hang on here.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We got the hot route. I thought you had it. Jason Day is now sponsored by Malbon, which is basically they're like the Supreme of the golf world is the one way I would describe it. If you don't know what Supreme is, go look at idiot kids that just wear very expensive things and then have Supreme just plastered over the top.
Mm-hmm.
What Malbon does is they take designs of other things. They do collaborations with, whether it's Nike or, insert company here, and they plaster their logo on it and they put their own spin on it. That was the pants he was wearing, were the big old hammer pants out there.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like hammer time at Augusta.
Yeah.
Well, on Friday he showed up in a vest. Like, it was like your sweater vest. Think Mike Ditka or Jim Tressel.
Mm-hmm.
But then put Malbon Golf all over it in massive letters. It was like, well, that's a statement. This happened.
They asked me to take it off, the vest off yesterday.
The busy one?
Yeah, the busy one. And respectfully, you do that because it's all about the tournament here. So, and I understand that. I respect the tournament, and that's what we're here to do, is try and play and win the green jacket.
Can we just get him to say Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah. Oh, we need it. We need it. His voice, it gets me. Every time I hear an Australian accent, I'm like, yes! Yes! That's fun!
Always makes me think of Dumb and Dumber, too, which we just watched again the other day.
Somebody at Augusta National, and he said it wasn't the Masters, it was Augusta National.
Ooh.
They said, no. Too busy.
Yeah, you get that trash off my course.
Can you please remove the sweater, please?
Wow.
Jason Day. And that may be the most Augusta National thing you could possibly do. You've got, he's wearing a sweater vest, okay? It just was too busy.
Yes.
No, sir. That sweater vest, not here.
No.
You're going to have to take that off.
Thank you, no.
And I think, like, at times we forget, it wasn't until, like, 2012 that they allowed women to be members at Augusta National.
Right.
Like, nobody's going to be just sitting there letting anything roll on that course. So you got to make sure you dress appropriately. And this goes back to, like, there have been guys that have worn, done television appearances afterwards. They wear their green jacket,
mm-hmm.
and they've gotten their hand slapped by Augusta because, like, they're wearing jeans, or how dare you wear that green jacket in jeans or shorts?
Right.
Apparently, you have to wear a collared shirt under the green jacket at all times.
Gotcha.
So we should not be surprised one bit that somebody came across and was like, no. I want to know what the reaction was when Bryson DeChambeau picked up the little sign on the course and started lugging it around like he's Paul Bunyan, hacking down trees out there because he needed to move it so he could get his swing. Like, they probably said, Bryson, Now listen here.
Yeah.
How dare you pick that up?
You got us this time. There will not be it next.
There will not be an. We will take that 3D printed club and shove it so far.
Red Foreman would be like, boy, they really got that up there.
He'd be like, whoa! Is that the grip I see? I love that.
Oh, they went that in first.
It's Augusta. All right. It's the Masters, baby. It's the Masters. All right. That was one of my favorite storylines out of the weekend. And we had action-packed storylines from, our boy Ludwig Oberg, who, gosh, I tweeted out, like, it's a fun name to say.
Yeah.
Ludwig Oberg.
Yep.
And it's also fun to type.
Yeah.
And I had a reply. My buddy Ben, he tweeted at me. He's like, I'm just a little sad that he doesn't have more of an accent for a Swedish guy.
Oh, yeah.
He has no accent. Could you imagine his marketability if he was like the Swedish chef out there?
Bork.
Just cooking up birdies. Oh, no, there's an eagle.
Out there like the old SNL sketch, the Swedish Chef ringtones.
Yes, you could just... That would be great. And his nickname needs to be the Swedish Chef, just cooking up low scores.
There you go.
Left and right.
Yeah.
That one out of the cabbage. Nice.
Yes.
Ludwig Oberg. He's a fun young player too, man.
Yes.
And he seems like a good dude, like on the surface at least.
Mm-hmm.
The one story that we cannot get over though, from Augusta and wrapping up the Masters is next. Because do you love or hate this decision? Danny and Dusty on the Fan. Julia Westerman is a news reporter out of Columbia, South Carolina, who was thrown to the wolves by a coworker named Robbie Thomas, who's the VP and GM for the station she works for, WIS, in South Carolina. She had tweeted out that she'd won the lottery to play around at Augusta National. Every media member that is credentialed to cover the Masters can enter their name into a lottery, which would allow them to play around at the Masters or at Augusta National the day following the event. So today, Julia Westerman tweeted that out about just the surreal world that she's living in, being from South Carolina, being able to cover the Masters, and what a great whirlwind it is that now she gets to cover the Masters, and then she wins the lottery to go and play Augusta National. That's a dream, man.
Absolutely.
Well, Robbie, her GM and VP, said, golfers, grit your teeth and try to muster your most sincere congratulations for WIS TV's Julia Westerman. She just learned she's been selected to play a round of golf at Augusta National Golf Club on Monday. It will be the first round of golf she's ever played. The very first round of... Now, I don't even know if she... There's so many questions I have now.
Yeah.
Because her only response to this is, I was going to keep that fact to myself for the most part, but now that we're here, it's out there.
Wow.
That's all she said.
Yeah.
Does she own a set of golf clubs? Has she gone to the driving range? What do we know? All I know is that there's a lot of pissed off people out there that are like, how dare she? Dirt. And he's not the only one, but they're just like, how dare she take that spot from someone else? Oh, get over yourself. She won the lottery. Go credential yourself and enter the damn lottery next year.
The way he teased it this morning was calling her the worst person in the world.
Which...
It's like, okay, that's a bit aggressive.
Like, it is a dream of mine.
Yeah.
I actually had a dream last night that me and my buddies got to go and play Augusta National. And in my dream, one of my buddies, who now lives in Texas, he had a rat tail that he had to tuck up inside of his hat because they weren't going to let him play at Augusta. And I was like, I asked him, I go, why do you have a rat tail?
Yeah, right.
It was my question. It was braided. It was skinny. It was long. It was just like the nastiest of rat tails.
It was like Samuel L. Jackson and Jackie Brown.
And he was like, I want people to know I'm from Oregon. I was like, what?
What?
Huh?
That's not how you represent us.
This is part of my dream. All right. It's part of the process. And he said, I want people to know I'm from Oregon, Dustin. And and I was like, why do you want people to know why would that even mean that you're from Oregon?
Right?
He's like, Goonies never die. That was part of my dream.
Okay.
I have I have dreams of playing Augusta National
Yeah.
and my buddies tucking their rat tails into their hat so we can do it. Okay. Now, I think anybody who's picked up a golf club is like, yes, I want to go there.
Yeah.
I want to play Augusta National. It's a dream.
Yeah.
And she gets to live that dream, but she's never played around. I will counter the people that are upset at that with how awesome would it be if you're like, yeah, I've only played golf one time in my life.
Yeah.
And it was at Augusta National.
And that's exactly what Sprague said this morning. He said, if this is truly her first ever round of golf, he said it should be her final round because you're just not topping that.
Never again.
Yeah.
Like, never play again. And she needs to post the score.
Mhm.
I demand she post the score.
Yeah.
But again, like, people are like, she's going to shoot 300. Yeah, she might.
Yeah.
But she's also not playing from the tips.
Right.
And, like, the putting, she actually might be okay at putting because she's going to be so hesitant. She's not going to blow anything past the hole, Like, it's just everything's just going to be tap,